DeSantis in Florida, as you know, is now threatening to withhold salaries of school board members and superintendents in districts that do not comply with his order outlawing mask mandates at schools. What's the White House's take on that?
Well, I do want to call out the courage and the boldness of a number of leaders in Florida, including in Miami-Dade County, people who are stepping up to do the right thing to protect students and keep schools safe and open. We are continuing to look for ways, to go back to your question, Peter, for the U.S. government to support districts and schools as they try to follow the science, do the right thing, and save lives. I would note what is publicly available and knowable is that the American Rescue Plan funds that were distributed to Florida to provide assistance to schools have not yet been distributed from the state level. So the question is, why not? And those can be used to cover expenses that come up in this period of time. They're federal funds, and they're under federal discretion. So they just need to be distributed to these schools. We're looking into what's possible.
So in simple terms, what do you say directly to Governor DeSantis about this threatened punishment?
Well, we would say what we've said from the beginning, Peter, which is that if you're not interested in following the public health guidelines to protect the lives of people in your state, to give parents some comfort as they're sending their kids to school. Schools are opening in Florida this week, I know, in many parts of Florida. Then get out of the way and let public officials, let local officials do their job to keep students safe. This is serious, and we're talking about people's lives.
On COVID in Florida in particular, when you're talking about federal funds being used in some way to affect an outcome with the state school districts, can you describe whether you're talking about sort of paying these funds directly to the school districts, or you're talking about withholding funds? Like, what is sort of the flow of funding, and what is the amount that we're talking about?
Sure. I don't have in front of me how much Florida was allocated through the American Rescue Plan. I'm sure we can get you that number, but that in the American Rescue Plan allocation, or in the guidelines for parameters for how that money could be spent, certainly paying for salaries is a part of that, or could be a part of that, and could cover those needs for these officials. And now that money would have to be distributed. But the Department of Education is looking at options. I'm not making a threat of withholding. Certainly we don't want to hurt the people of Florida, but we're looking at a range of options to support the public health officials, the teachers, and officials who are trying to protect students and their communities.
Ron DeSantis might have enjoyed his power trip, but that seems to be coming to an abrupt end, because while he attempted to unilaterally force localities not to enforce safety measures in the middle of a pandemic, of which his own state is the epicenter, it looks like the White House will be able to fill the leadership vacuum that we're seeing out of Florida. DeSantis had initially come out and threatened to withhold the salaries of superintendents and school board members who defied his executive order banning mask mandates in schools. In other words, and I don't know how I could stress this more, the governor of the state with the most cases and hospitalizations in the entire United States is using his power not only to relax measures that would help rein in this pandemic, but punish those who do want to make an effort to keep people safe. Incompetence is one thing, but imposing that incompetence on everyone else with no recourse is criminal. And so now, the Biden administration is examining whether it can direct certain unspent stimulus funds to financially support educators in Florida who do defy DeSantis' draconian edicts. Why? Because people shouldn't be punished for trying to ensure the safety of others. And if they are, the least we can do is make them whole. And the fact that I actually have to say that and it's not the Middle Ages is insane. And the fact that these Republicans, these members of the pro-life party, can look at 630,000 dead Americans and think, yep, I'm gonna keep doing everything exactly the same, should give you serious pause. If we weren't all retreated into our own political corners and didn't have D's and R's next to our names, 100% of people would look at what Ron DeSantis is doing, which is willfully allowing a virus to spread uncontrollably more than any other state in the nation and blocking measures imposed by other states that are objectively effective. You would think that he was a sociopath. I'm just saying, don't let your political affiliation cloud the objective facts surrounding what this person is doing and the consequences of his actions. And yet, rather than have an ounce of humility and acknowledge the need to change course, DeSantis' office opted to dig in its heels, saying, quote, "It is surprising that the White House would rather spend money for the salaries of bureaucratic superintendents and elected politicians who don't believe that parents have a right to choose what's best for their children than on Florida's students, which is what these funds should be used for." Here's what Ron DeSantis and other Republicans don't seem to understand. They might like to pretend that this is all a personal decision, but when you're dealing with a virus, it's not a personal decision. Having certain people unmasked doesn't impact just the unmasked people, it impacts everyone. It keeps the virus spreading, which means mutations, which means the pandemic is prolonged, which means more restrictions, which means hits to the economy, and all of that impacts all of us. So when Republicans pretend that this is a personal decision, they're overlooking the fact that other people live on this planet too. And it seems that individual counties are starting to understand that, considering a number of counties and school districts are pushing back. At least 4 districts in the state, including Broward County Public Schools, the second largest school district in Florida, are enacting mask mandates and openly defying DeSantis' efforts to make the state less safe. And by the way, districts in other states are also pushing back against their own governors who'd rather block measures that will save lives than impose them. For example, both Dallas and Austin school districts are moving forward with mask mandates despite executive orders from Texas's Governor Greg Abbott blocking such mandates. And whether it's in Florida or Texas or any other state, it really is telling that the party of small government's now trying to enact top-down, sweeping edicts banning local officials from making the best decisions for their community. Yep, gotta love those small government Republicans. So Ron DeSantis will continue to put his own ego and national ambitions above the health and safety of his own state. He'll continue to sacrifice students and their parents and their grandparents, all because the GOP has planted its flag as the no mask, no vaccine party. All because they've convinced themselves that letting a virus spread uncontrollably somehow means they're free and the rest of us aren't. So as we continue to needlessly lose Floridians, the people of that state should be clear-eyed about who's in charge and who's to blame. If you enjoyed that video and you're looking for a deeper dive, check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. It's a no BS look at the top stories of the week, along with interviews with the top names in politics, like Vice President Kamala Harris, Jen Psaki, Elizabeth Warren, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Katie Porter, Pete Buttigieg, and more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts. Also, if you want to see more videos like this one, click the subscribe link right here on this screen to join the more than 1 million people who've already subscribed to my channel. And finally, to donate to my Don't Be a Mitch fund, where I'm raising money for a whole raft of different voter outreach and voter registration groups in the closest states ahead of midterms in 2022, including Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Texas. You can find that link on this screen as well. Thanks for watching.